Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the story of Cinderella, right? Why is the story of Cinderella so significant during this series of talking about destiny swapping? Because they almost attempted a destiny swap on Cinderella, right? Because the reason why I'm bringing out this story, right? I'm using it as an analogy is because people think that destiny swapping is so rare. They feel that destiny swapping is something that is so hard to believe. And I want to make reference to Cinderella's story today so you can see how common it is and how much you've overlooked it, right, over your lifetime. So in the Cinderella story, right, Cinderella was living with her stepmom and her two stepsisters, right? She was basically used as a domestic slave. So the stepmom and the stepsisters were invited to a ball, right? Where the prince would choose who he wants to marry, right? And Cinderella was not invited. Obviously, she didn't have the right clothes. She was assigned so many chores, etc. Right? So Cinderella's stepmom and the stepsisters, they went to the ball. As they went to the ball, Cinderella was obviously doing her chores. She was very upset, blah, blah, blah. And then her fairy godmother appears to her. And when her fairy godmother appears to her, she grants her a wish to attend the ball. So obviously she transformed all her clothes, her shoes, and gave her these glass slippers. And she went in the chariot thing, the carriage of the horses. And she got there, but the only thing was that she had to be back by 12 because that's when the spell would be cancelled out. So as she went there and she met the prince, 12 was approaching. And as 12 was approaching, she ran off and she left the prince, but she had dropped her glass slipper. And ever since that night, the prince was looking for her. So he went all over the town and they were looking for people, by trying to identify her by seeing who can fit in the shoe, right? And they came to Cinderella's house at some point, and her stepsisters were approached to try on the shoe. And obviously, everybody wants to be that person that's identified that the shoe fits them, so they could be entitled to be the person that gets to marry the prince, right? So the stepsisters, they were squeezing their feet in these shoes because their feet was obviously bigger than the shoes, right? But do you understand? Are you starting to understand the analogy, right? And why I'm making reference to it? Because eventually it didn't fit any of them. And eventually they tried Cinderella and he realized it was her because it fit her. And then they married and lived happily ever after. But why I'm making reference to this Cinderella story, right, is because if the shoe had fit the sisters, they would have been the ones that will be entitled to the blessing, right? So they would have been the one to marry the prince and live happily ever after. They would have been the one to marry the prince and live in opulence. They would have been the one to marry the prince and live in wealth. Okay, let's go to the second point. They knew they were not the person that dropped the slippers. You know when something is not yours, it's like your shoes, right? It's not your item, right? But they didn't care because they were looking at the blessings that were attached to it. So making reference again to the last analogy that I used with Esau and his brother, right? Was so the sisters were trying to portray themselves as if they were the one that owned the slippers, the shoes, the glass slippers, right? So they can be entitled to the blessings. You see all these Disney stories, they come from real life experiences, but obviously they have to present it to you in a very you know, animated way. So you really sometimes don't take the point of the real you know, story behind it, or the real analogy behind it. But the analogy, what I'm getting from it, is really that it's saying that people are ready to destiny swap. Why? Of course they're ready to destiny swap. Because you won't do it doesn't mean that they won't do it. Some people are ready to be wealthy at all costs. Some people, they don't care who they rob or who they're taking that blessing from, as long as they are the ones that receive the blessings. The sisters didn't care. They knew it wasn't their shoes. But they were ready. As long as that shoe was able to fit into their feet, they would have been the ones that were entitled to the blessing. Right? So you need to be on guard, because destiny swapping is as more common than you think. Right? You need to start opening your eyes, and you need to start being on guard. And you need to start knowing who you are, both spiritually and physically. Right? Because some of you have spiritual wealth that you have not even seen, have you not been able to identify, but other people have been able to identify, right? So therefore they're coming like as you, as if so they can be entitled to the blessings. So that was my analogy for today, and hopefully you gain some understanding. And you know, watch out for the next video, because I'll bring in more references so you to understand in a more deeper context. Thank you. Please like the video and please subscribe. Thank you.